is similar to the sonnet, the unreality or the artificiality of the sonnet that Shakespeare puts into the mouths of his two characters in the original play. As I said to you, they say lines of a poem to each other. So you've got all the dialogue going on and all the normal verse, people talking to each other. And then right in the middle of the play, you've got this 14-line sonnet that they recite to each other as if, oh yeah, we know this sonnet. Nobody else knows this sonnet. I know the first line. I know the second line. I know the third line. And they end with a rhyming couplet. Okay. So that's what's going on here. And if you want to be fancy and refer to another film moment, I'm just trying to think how you can. And you could say Robert Wise uses a similar device in West Side Story in the scene at the dance. That's all you need to say. So in West Side Story, which is based on Romeo and Juliet, they have this big dance fight, the two gangs, the Jets and the Sharks. And let's see if we go all the way to them. And during the dance, so he uses soft focus around them. The sound of the dance, the actual dance going on, goes all echoey. Because he's doing exactly the same thing. He's creating a kind of unreal private moment in the film, and then in fact it goes into, they do a kind of ballet themselves, a pas de deux. And then at the end of the sequence, as you would imagine, the music of the main dance comes back, and the lights come up and they go back to reality. And that's her brother, in fact, it's not Paris. So, schmancy it up, you could say, well, this bit about them being in the water, Baz Luhrmann is trying to represent this kind of private moment, and this is inspired by Shakespeare's, the sonnet that Shakespeare, the Petrarchan sonnet that Shakespeare gives them. This is a similar device to the one that Robert Wise uses in West Side Story. Okay, you've got all that on here. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all fine, the stuff you put in there. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to do two things. I'm going to just run through a bit more of that to give you a little bit more material. And then I'm going to give you a couple of bits of theory to drop in. So all through this sequence, they are effectively underwater. And you've talked about the reflections. Can you see her outside looking in as well? Yeah, and we also, so you could say as part of the shot, reverse shot, we also see Luhrmann includes shots of Romeo looking into the tank and shots of Juliet looking into the tank. So I suppose those shots in the tank are point of view shots, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very, so maybe you should say they're point of view shots to accentuate the privacy of the moment and to put the audience in the position of the two young lovers. But then he starts to use more traditional shot reverse shots, and in this sequence we see Romeo outside the tank looking in at Juliet, and Juliet outside the tank looking in at Romeo, and that equates to them measuring each other up, if you like, saying, is this the kind of my fantasy? Is this the fantasy I want? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Or does it sound crazy?
No, it's making sense.
Yeah. And also you talked about the reflections. There is that thing like almost like he's projecting his dream self in here.
Yeah.
And then you could say this sequence is interrupted for Juliet by the shot of the nurse, or who sees that? That's Romeo's point of view, I think. By the shot of the nurse, and this represents reality intruding on their whatever their special moment, the moment of their meeting. Yeah. Then we have the the whip pan. She's so sweet in this, Claire Danes, isn't she? Yeah, and you've done good stuff on that.
Such a man.
Yeah.
What? There's a slave come hither to flee and scorn at our solemnity? Now, by the stock and honor.
You could say a little bit about Tybalt, and although he's Juliet's cousin, at this stage in the film, he is going. There's his group represent the opposition, if you like, to their love. And here's where you could talk a little about. Have you talked about Levi Strauss with Miss?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of binary opposition.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, Romeo and Juliet are the kind of lovers, the force for good in here, and Tybalt and the other Capulets, even though they think they're protecting Juliet, are the kind of enemies. So there's a binary opposition starting here, and in fact, throughout as the play develops, it becomes that both families, the Capulets and the Montagues, are the enemies of Romeo and Juliet's love, and that is the binary opposition through the film. So you could say something at this point. You know, we see a shot of Tybalt, and what Lerman is doing here is introducing the beginnings of what Levi Strauss would call a binary opposition between the Capulets and eventually the Montagues, and their opposition to Romeo and Juliet's love. Okay, that's the first bit of theory.
My kin to strike them dead, I hold it not a sin.
Oh, it's gone. Didn't we go a little bit further? Didn't we get to where they start dancing together?
No, I just went up to that bit.
For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss.
Have not saints' lips, and holy dear saint
Move.
this effect I take. I thought from my lip.
Yeah, I would go to here. Okay, so I would add a little bit more in, and again, then you can talk about the shot reverse shot and the kissing, because it's sort of replication of what we've seen before, which is then they get to do the sonnet together, they get to dance together a bit, and is it worth doing that little bit? Because we saw the bit where he sees it when she's dancing with Paris, and we have another eyeline match there, don't we? Well, look, see how it goes in terms of word count. Maybe not go on to that bit, because that's a whole other bit to do.
By the stock and honor of my kin to strike them dead, I hold it not a sin.
So when you've got that shot of Tybalt and the others,